Hello everybody, welcome back to the BSDF1 Podcast. I know, it's been a while, hasn't it, Josh? It's been a bit of time.
It's been a hot minute, as the kids would say.
As the kids would say. That's how long it's been. We're now ancient beings, apparently. We've all been really busy. We've had a lot of stuff changing in our lives. Holidays, etc. Well, one person seems to be going on holiday, Ryan. But all of the rest of us are actually busy. Yeah, exactly. Before he has to live somebody else's. But we're back to talk about F1. So, Spain has happened, obviously. Josh, did you... I know the answer to this question, but I think the listeners will find it interesting. Did you enjoy Spain?
Do you know what? I was giving the racing a lot of hate towards the start, and then I watched some golf on Sky, and then I came back to the racing, and then my mood improved, probably because the golf was really good. And golf life is the best life at the moment.
Golf life, exactly. Golf life
legend. The on-track racing was really good. From Lewis Hamilton down, it was really good. From first place...
But not Bottas.
I mean, what is he doing? Is he even a Formula One racer? What is he doing? How has he got that seat?
I can't.
Like I said a couple of months ago, it's the mullet. The mullet is causing issues. There's DUIs under that thing. It's causing him to think when he's going down that straight 180 mile an hour, he's going, I've got a mullet, I've got to pull out. And he can't concentrate.
Yep.
So, I think
into that corner. Not with this mullet on.
It was a good race, I think. I don't know, I feel like it was. I mean, I didn't watch Monaco. Imola wasn't a thing.
Monaco, just quickly, let me interject, because we never got to speak about Monaco because we were all obviously away. But Monaco was a kind of like interesting testament. I enjoyed Monaco, but I always usually do enjoy Monaco because I look at it from like a technical side of driving ability, and I'm in awe of that. The still camera shots where the camera's just pointing at a corner and a car just goes somehow at that speed, that length and width through there. But just quickly with Monaco, it's not going to talk about it that much. Even the spiciest amount of rain didn't change the order. Like where it mattered truly. Obviously, all the point scoring positions matter, but in the top 5, like, well, Max, Alonso, and Ocon didn't change that. The craziest amount of rain going nuts at Monaco, freshly paved Monaco, I think, as well, they were saying, and it didn't do anything.
I'll tell you what, though.
And it was interesting to watch.
I'll tell you what was spicy was that we actually got to see what's underneath the Red Bull. And is that the reason?
That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, when everyone was like, oh my God, look at the bottom of the Red Bull. It's completely like, it's mind-boggling.
It's insane looking.
Yeah. Who knows?
Did you see the Williams, though?
Yeah, it's nothing. It's basically a skateboard bottom, wasn't it?
It's the skateboard, yeah.
Yeah. But you were right a couple of weeks ago when we actually did BSDF1 and didn't like completely fall off. You said that the repercussion of Red Bull being really good, which I think is really interesting, to demote Adrian Newey services to a team like Red Bull. Because if you look at their flaws just identically, one of the teams is doing something completely right and one of the teams can't because maybe their budget doesn't allow for it. They don't have the expertise in terms of like the people to develop that kind of flaw. And clearly, if we go back to Silverstone last year, which was fucking great when Max Verstappen had whatever it is got stuck, he dropped to 10th, and he was racing Mick Schumacher or something at one point. Clearly the flaw is a huge part of their performance. So if you put that into one of the slower teams or the teams that don't do as well, I mean, Williams is a rocket ship, and if they can tie up the flaw, they might be like a SpaceX kind of rocket ship going and back.
Just taking off in every single
literally. Corner. So I think, to be fair, it just shows you that the flaw is very important because obviously Williams at the back have hardly any flaw, Red Bull's at the front, and their flaw is literally like Batman's cape.
Yeah, it's crazy looking in it. It really is crazy looking. But I think that's I think it's interesting.
What did we learn from Monaco, though, that takes us into Barcelona? What did we learn from Monaco that the no overtaking doesn't help the race? But then when we come to Spain, Leo made a good tweet saying, does overtaking actually help the race? And I actually, on the other side of Leo's opinion here, because he's obviously asking what the general public think about it. I don't think, because I was actually bored from some of the overtakes. I mean, we know that the only overtaking zone probably in Spain is T1. And if you're confident enough with the car, probably T3, like George showed us last year. Not T4 if you're not Max, Lewis and Rosberg.
Yep.
But
flashbacks again.
Yeah, more flashbacks. So my point is that there was probably something like 15 overtakes in the first 15, 20 laps between the whole field, except for Max. I don't think it added too much excitement because it was the same boring kind of overtake. It's either the DRS overtake that was going on the main straight or the late-ish dive bomb with later braking compared to the other guy.
The thing that works really well, right, is I agree 100% that DRS overtakes are boring. They're lame. They're boring. Do we still need DRS? Yes, very obviously we do. I loved an idea that I think, who was it? It wasn't Karun. Usually has an absolute banger all the time of an idea, but I think I want to give the credit to either Anthony Davidson or I don't know. It might have even been Crofty, but he said DRS should have a set amount of uses in a race, and you have to strategically decide when to use DRS and when to not use DRS. I think that's a great idea. The old KERS system, as an example, an ERS. You can't just spam ERS all the time. And, which was Crofty who said this, I'm pretty sure.
I think it was Crofty.
Why do they use DRS in qualifying when it's an overtaking tool? That just makes so much fucking sense. It blew my mind. When I heard it, I was like, wait, hang on. Yeah.
It does make complete sense.
It's aiding overtaking. What's the point of it being on in qualifying? And it's not like that's a lot of resources. Just turn it off. Done.
Well, considering that we know the Red Bull gets, 20 mile an hour extra compared to the rest of the teams?
1 million mile an hour extra.
Well, clearly they're cheating again. Fucking Red Bull. It just shows you that if you took that away, then their qualifying chances might not be, 20 mile an hour on a track probably isn't a huge difference. But like you say, if it is an overtaking tool, which we've been told it is, then you're right. There's no overtaking in qualifying unless you're George and Lewis, or the fuck were they doing?
Yeah.
Then there is no need for it in quality, to be fair. But who knows?
Which I thought was a great point. But I do like that point of DRS.
I don't like the fact that they bring it in lap 3 either, though. I've never liked that. I don't really understand the point. What is the point?
It needs to be lap 1. Immediately lap 1, because all that happens is gets to lap 3 and like, oh my god, please, Sainz have kept close to him. Please have kept close to him. Verstappen is 2.8 seconds. Fuck's sake.
In all fairness, though, Max.
But the end of lap 1.
End of lap 1 was 1.4. So is Spain. And you think,
honestly.
he's on fucking worse tyres. Like in reality, like he's on mediums compared to Sainz's softs. He should be having it
now.
Huh?
Talking about one of the big things here. I'll talk about Max Verstappen for a moment, and not Andy Moore. Max Verstappen. So to get both of them could be confused. But so that basically Max is showing that he is, I don't know, he's just ridiculous. He's just absolutely ridiculous.
Is he ridiculous or is it the car?
He's rapid. It's him, because the car in Perez's hands was shit. Much like Lewis and Bottas disparity in 2018 and 2021. The real reason Lewis Hamilton lost that championship, by the way, everybody, is Valtteri Bottas, because he was nowhere the whole fucking season. Terrible. In that season, useless. All Bottas needed to do was when that W12 was in Like P1, Bottas needed to be in P2 or P3 to try and fight Max, and he was not there.
Do you remember this?
Perez was up. Not going to rant about that. Hold on.
Bottas's race engineer in this race said to him to protect.
Oh yeah,
Zhou. And as soon as he came across, I was thinking, good luck with that. Bottas has got as much defensive capability as Belgium. None.
Oh, love World War II joke coming in again. The classic, ladies and gentlemen.
As well, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, they're just the butt of all jokes, aren't they?
Well, it's
straight for the eye then. But yeah, so the biggest problem with like the difference of cars, you saw
disparity
Perez,
is a good word for that.
Yeah, but Dad, my dad absolutely razzes Max on a regular, right? As soon as he comes on, I go, "Oh, stupid Max, shut up," like that. But like Lewis or Moni be like, "Lulu, it's okay, Lewis. Don't worry about it, Lewis. It's fine."
Are you
so
telling
Max
the world that your dad a LH44 shagger?
Of course he is. He's proper Team LH.
Every
time he says, just as a segue quickly, every time Lewis comes on the radio after and he goes, because I just want to thank the guys at the factory, Dad goes, see, what a good bloke. Every time about Foul, he says the right things. He knows what to say. The guy's just calm down.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Out. He's not wrong, but it is funny.
I love it.
But yeah, so when you've got I can't remember what I was saying now, fuck's sake. Max. That was it. Max and Perez. Because Perez is good on a street circuit, but is, I'm going to say it, going to get hate for it, relatively mid everywhere else. And he's good on a street circuit. He's not excellent on a street circuit. He is good on a street circuit.
Do you know what I can't work out, though?
Max
is that he never defends like he did
everywhere
against Lewis in Abu Dhabi. When he's defending Max, that sort of like pitbull kind of mentality that he had then, like he was amazing. Like he got that nickname of the Mexican Minister of Defense for a reason. When it's Max,
from Abu Dhabi.
I don't know if it's probably team orders. We know it's probably team orders, but it never comes out. Like when Lewis and Nico was racing, you'd thought this could be an accident at every turn if it's not like kept clean. But you would almost want to see a little bit of that. And Red Bull, for the wrong or right reasons, back when like Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel were teammates, they were bang on it every race. Well, when Webber kept up with Seb, to be fair, but you don't see that nowadays. It's almost like Max is he can get away with a bit, which is sad because when we see Zhao and Sonoda actually get really heavily penalised for the I wouldn't even say it was late in the brakes. I'm
going to jump on that.
Go on.
When Verstappen did it to Mick Schumacher at Silverstone last year, exactly the same thing. No penalty.
Well, no.
Sonoda getting that penalty is the most ridiculous thing.
Do you think he only got the penalty though because Zhao kicked up a fuss? And for example, Carlos Sainz on turn one, lap one. I know it's lap one incident. You could almost say because he didn't say anything. You didn't get anything. But like Zhao kicked up a fuss on the radio, made his opinion aware to the FIA and the stewards and whatnot, and then kind of forced them to have a decision where the decision was not.
I mean, Yuki also had full lock on, like to the right.
I mean, he couldn't do any more, could he?
No, I think it was just dumb. They were like, we need to do something in this race. Everyone's just racing pretty standard, pretty well. We need to have, apart from Max exceeding the track limits the exact amount of times he needed to. Not that it fucking mattered anyway.
It does, yeah, literally black and white flag, and then you get nothing. Great.
Yeah.
Can you be a 25-second penalty or something so it makes it a little bit more interesting?
Yeah, just chuck him in like a stop-go. Just chuck it in there. He'd
still probably win, wouldn't he?
And then put him on inters afterwards.
22-second pit stop. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, so back to Max and Perez. I think Perez's title hopes are long gone, and you can see that with Christian Horner and Helmut Marko. I think Helmut Marko was asked the question and he literally said Perez will not basically basically, in layman's terms, Perez will not beat Max ever in a championship. It just won't happen. He's not a good enough driver. And Perez is an amazing driver, but he is not an excellent fucking Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Schumacher type of driver, right?
He's just not a world champion.
And I put Max up there. Yeah. And I do seriously put Max, I think, early on in those echelons of people, because he's going to get his third now, right? Yeah. He's going to tie his third up this year, beating out Alonso in championships. Yes, Max has had a more competitive car than Alonso has most of the time. But he's beating out those championships. He's going to be knocking on the door for Seb's Red Bull championships, obviously, next year, drawing with him. If Red Bull don't drop the ball, 5, if they get their stuff right, I could see 5 or 6 championships of Max quite easily.
Well, they get to 2026, though. That's the biggest thing, isn't it, with what's coming up with the engine. Max was actually really annoyed about that, wasn't he, in his press conferences? And probably rightly so, because Honda going, fuck, we actually like being in Formula 1, actually. And then Red Bull, to be fair,
everybody knew this was going to happen.
Why, though? They are, honestly, we know we've spoken about it before. I digress on it. Why are they such a stupid fucking company with Formula 1? They keep making these stupid mistakes. Like that. Yeah, they were Brawn, and they could have won Brawn's championship potentially, because they had the design of the car. So in theory, they would have won. And then they did.
Yep.
They had the fiasco with Red Bull. They all dramatic. Oh my god, we're leaving the sport, la la la, and then didn't leave. And then now signing with Aston Martin, and you think,
it makes no sense.
That doesn't make sense though in terms of a global partner deal. Think of it logically from just in one brief moment. Aston Martin road cars have Mercedes engines. So does that mean Honda are going to be part of the Aston Martin cars' engines now? So the Advantage is going to have a CRT engine that sounds like
I reckon it'll be Formula 1 exclusive deal.
Do you think? Because that's the reason why Aston and Mercedes are, if you basically unpack Aston Martin nowadays, it's basically an AMG GT, which is a good car to copy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's basically the same. But I digress. We're not Ryan, because as soon as Cars Talk comes on, he's erect. So we're moving on.
Yep. Ryan's like, let's talk about everything else, which I can do. But
moving on.
the thing with where Max is in this level at the moment, which is 2020 Lewis Hamilton. He's in an undefeatable car that cannot be beaten, and he's just smashing every race. Like, even when he's not, he's been on the podium in every single race.
Well,
right?
Red Bull have won every race this year. That's the one.
Red Bull have won every single race, which unless... nice, thank you. Hoping that one just slid under. Unless they have something happen to them, I can't see them not winning a race unless it's a red flag, both cars fuck it, like Bahrain last year, or like some random shenanigan happens. But I think there'll be at least one Red Bull driver on the podium every single race this year. I don't think they're going to slow down. They might. Brawn had a ginormous advantage and then stopped. They ran out of money. Red Bull, no. What happens with Red Bull when they run out of money? They just take more. So, yeah, I think...
do you know what the main issue, though, is?
I'm liking...
The main issue with it is that Formula 1 told us for years when the Mercedes domination was on, and obviously it can come across as oh my god, you're a Lewis fan and you don't like to see Red Bull dominate. That's fine. But when the Formula 1 and the FIA have been saying for years on the lead up to these new regulation changes, this set of regulations will bring racing together. So every single racing fan has been thinking, amazing. We won't see the Mercedes domination anymore. We won't see the Lewis Hamilton domination anymore. The cars will be more or less on spec to each other. And then they come out for the first time last year, and they're not. Some teams fuck it up. That's fair. That's always going to happen. But everyone, now in the second season, everyone bar Red Bull is more or less on the playing field. We saw the McLarens doing well in qualifying. They had a crap race. That's fair. Aston Martin had the amazing first 3 races. Now they're sort of like not middle of the pack, but the best of the rest, kind of. Ferrari dropped off.
Yeah, Mercedes have overtaken them.
Alpine had a really good day, even though they've had a really bad couple of races pre-Monaco. And you think, this is really good because you see different teams in different places. Like the qualifying was really exciting for other reasons except for Max, because he sort of put it on pole in the 7th minute.
Monaco qualifying was incredible to watch.
I didn't watch it, unfortunately, but I'll take your word for it. But the problem is, though, Red Bull are streets ahead of the rest of the field, and you either need Red Bull's or Mercedes or Ferrari's money, which they can't spend because of the cost cap, to get to Red Bull, but you can't. And Red Bull are so far ahead of everybody else for good reason. They developed a really good car. You know, Adrian Newey, everyone's saying how great he is. He's look at the floor compared to people like Williams. But how can you help the teams that aren't going to have the Mercedes like grit or money, or the Ferrari sort of like history, or the money that goes into them? How do you know
the problem?
Them? Go on.
The problem is, and this is that the issue is what Formula One has made itself out to be, and it's the worst thing. There's a very easy way to solve dominating cars. Very easy. Every other category on the planet does it, but Formula One doesn't, because there's two sides of the coin. One side of the coin, stick ballast on the car. Done. Loads of categories do it. You're too powerful, you're too fast, ballast. Bang, done. Or there's a quick change by an institute to make it suddenly slower all out of nowhere. But ballast, bang, there you go. The other one of those is homologation. Formula 2, Formula 3. I watched the Formula 2 race. Unreal. Both of them. Amazing. Formula 3. Crazy. You know, Cup Series. Amazing. GT racing. Amazing. There's so much homologated parts that that's what everything kind of should be, apart from aerodynamic things, maybe. But then the other side of that coin is, yeah, but F1 is the pinnacle of technical motorsport, where if you start putting limitations on things, you don't get innovations like double diffuser, blown diffuser, DAS, high rake philosophies, the low rake philosophies, the whatever the hell Red Bull have done with their DRS. Those won't exist, but the racing will be better. So the catch-22 is, what do the fans want? Good racing every week in very fast cars, or technical evolutions that are going to trickle down eventually into real-world cars. And more people would get involved in Formula One if they went, you know what? The things that you develop as a team is your engine, the outside aerodynamics of the car, and the floor. No, not even a floor. The F1 give you a floor, gearbox, that sort of stuff.
Safety.
That you have to work with. The only things, the safety stuff, right? And go, right, this is what you build your car off of. Now you go and take that to the drawing board, and this is what you do. But you have to stay, they already have to stay in like a thing of regulations, but they're loose regulations where, look at all the Indy cars, they all look the same. Look at all the Formula 2 cars, Formula 3 cars, even GT cars. The only difference is that the engines all relatively have to be within the same scopes of each other. Their aero is the only thing that changes. You know, and I think that's where the issue with Formula 1 is where, and they'll just slap ballast on a car that's too fast. So Formula 1 is in this identity crisis where, is it entertainment? Is it sport? Is it a business? Is it science? What is it? It can't be all four of them things and still be great. It still can't be 2021. Well, and the only reason 2021 was like it was, and this is this is a big take. If it wasn't for COVID, we never would have got on the 2021 season, because this regulation of cars was supposed to come in 2021.
Good point.
And it exactly lines up with what Max Verstappen was saying. Stop changing the regulations. We'll hit a floor. Everybody else will catch up to that floor. If floor 5 is the highest floor in the building, eventually everybody will be on floor 5. Then you enter that homologation zone anyway, because everyone's singing off the same hymn sheet.
But the way you would fix that immediately
ramble,
is you would like you said, you'd put static parts, as we call them. So like the gearbox, the floor, the safety aspects, these are all stock, if you like, rather than static. Everything else is sort of free reign. And then, but you work backwards from that. So like, for example, we know that Red Bull floor has worked this year. So for example, Adrian Newey, who is the mastermind behind all of the aerodynamic wins that Red Bull have made. I'm not saying that this is the correct thing to do, because it does sound a bit like we're pinching Red Bull and they're losing out from it. But the reason every single fan, including Red Bull fans, would want wheel-to-wheel racing every week, not 40-second gap. Like, that's not exciting for anybody. Like, we were watching the Spain at the end, and the Max Verstappen fans who clapped him through 40 seconds ahead or 28 seconds ahead of Lewis were like, didn't know that was going to happen. And it's not interesting, really, and is it?
Even Max, he comes across the line and like, well done, Max. He's like, yeah.
It was all right. No one wants to see that.
Who was I racing?
Want to see Max would rather the last 10 laps against Charles, against Lewis, against Carlos Sainz, any of those, battling. And then if he wins and on the day and it's amazing, that's going to be brilliant. I'll tell you what it's close to, and I know you're not a football fan, but some of them out there will be. It's like watching the Champions League final that's coming up this weekend. If it's a 0-0 draw and it goes to golden goal, which is basically what Max is, and let's say Max is like Messi at this point, which he is, Max is going to win. Boring. If you watch a Champions League final that ends 3-3 and then goes to extra time and penalties, that's amazing. You don't care. Everyone's watching that then.
Yeah.
Because it's entertaining. And I think if the way that Formula One could be a better business and being more entertaining to start with is get more teams involved. And the way you get more teams involved is making the rules and the regulations and the stupid mistakes the FIA keep making in the last couple of years is making it simpler for teams to enter and make parts easier to come by. So inventing stock parts would help, the influx of teams coming in. Like we saw Porsche tipping their toes in going, oh, we're interested. But then all of a sudden they're out. And you think Porsche would be huge. It would bring so much more excitement for the fans because it'd be a new team. It'll be more races. There's more opportunity for big names to come in. And if they can hit the ground running, like Audi hopefully will, but we never know with these things. They could end up like Williams, for example, and they're like, oh, Audi's great. Oh, they're not. Back to standard again. It's just not fun.
Yeah,
and I think that's the crisis I'm having as a Formula One fan at the moment. When the Imola GP was cancelled, and it was cancelled for reasons that were out of control, and obviously a lot of people were affected by the huge rain downpour, which was obviously sad. But in a way, I was kind of glad that the race was cancelled because the race is terrible, and it wouldn't have been a fun, enjoyable race to watch. It would be 2 hours of my Sunday potentially ruined because Max is already 40 seconds ahead before even the pit stops come along. And we joked about it as if
you're watching.
Go on,
mate. Go on.
All I was going to say is you're watching Monaco, Italy, Miami as well, throw that in the mix, and then Barcelona. These 4 unentertaining tracks, and you just think, we know how this is going to play out. The way that Red Bull have been dominating, the way that Max has been dominating, that's great for him and great for his fans and great for Red Bull. But for anyone else watching racing, it's just not interesting, is it? It's just like watching 0-0 draws all the time because you know it's going to happen against 2 boring teams.
Do you know what's a really good thing to add into that as well? Because I remember back in the end of 2020, Lewis Hamilton was talking about retirement, right? Coming off of 4 championships on the bounce, and it was obviously his 7th championship, but 4 on the bounce with barely any competition. 2020 was Lewis getting in the W11. If there wasn't something weird going on, he was driving to the finish line. I think one of the races was like nearly a minute in front of second.
Yeah.
Right, lapped everybody that wasn't up to 3rd place, which is very similar to what Max will be doing this year at some point. But the Lewis was like, am I enjoying it? And there was winds of retirement talking about him. Lewis Hamilton, just let this settle in, everybody who's Team LH, hasn't won a race since Brazil 2021.
No, Saudi, wasn't it?
No, Saudi. Saudi before. It's now first early in the season, isn't it? Yeah, Saudi 2021 was Lewis. 2020, it's 2023, halfway through it. George Russell was won more races, you know, than Lewis has at this point, and Lewis has 103. But Lewis is the most fired up we've seen him in ages. Because he hasn't even won a fucking race, but he's fighting people. Max is already talking about possibly ending his career to go and race in WEC or go and race in GT and give something else a go, because driving, and everyone who's played the F1 game has done it, when your car is too powerful, when you haven't turned the AI up enough and you're doing a 50% race, and by lap 4 you're in the lead by like 6.5 seconds, and every lap you're getting fastest lap on hards, you think, all right,
just not
I'm just going to turn this off. What's the point? It's not interesting. And I think people need to get off of this whole, like, F1 back in the day was a clown show. Okay? Go back in history. Some of the wacky, random shit. Teams entering with like £2.50 to their name and being... They had to implement the did not qualify rule because they were so fucking slow. It's, it's like... There was random teams. I saw a stat earlier on about a race won by Jackie Stewart. An American driver had his car, Phil Hill, had his car retire through a camera van. It was a camera car, forced him to retire. What? I'm like, I need to know the context of this. So I'm going to have a look at it after the show. But I was like, what's the context in that? And 18 retirements out of a 21 car, 22 car grid, all for random shit. And then so many crazy random things that would happen, because Formula One has always kind of been a bit weird, but it's the most streamlined and rules focused, and it gets so boring. And 2021 only happened, again, as Max said, because everybody was unable to hit that floor. McLaren were possibly winning races.
Yeah,
George Russell in the Williams got a fucking podium.
We've said that before, though, haven't they? With the Williams regulations, they should stick with them for years and years and years. But we will get stuck on this. So maybe what we should do for the listeners is go back to Spain for a moment, and let's just go through some best moments, I think, between the two of us. And actually, no, let's pretend we're Leo. We're a ginger idiot. What would he say his best moment
I am.
is? No, he's actually properly ginger, and he's
Leo would say his best moment is
Lance Stroll.
Yeah, no, Leo
being
is
ahead of being the best Aston Martin driver at the moment.
Yeah, Lance Stroll being the best Aston Martin driver. Whatever Ocon did at one point, apart from defend like against Thingy, again, that's another classic.
Classic Ocon.
You've got what else? Yep. Then you've got Tsunoda was really exciting the whole race. He was really good. Then you had...
What was your best moment?
Lewis and George, obviously, really good. My best moment, George Russell's overtakes on Sainz and on Perez. You know, well, the overtake he would have got on Perez, but the Sainz one was really good, and a lot of his other overtakes. And George Russell, big brain, once again, like our leader, our Tory in power, George Russell, when he was just like, 3 wide into turn 1? I don't think so. There's probably going to be carnage. I know. I'll take the runoff. And then took the runoff, carnage ensued, and then everyone's like, huh? Well, hang on, what? How's he there? Is that he penalised himself to not have to suffer getting penalised.
That was actually a fucking goat move.
It's the most George Russell thing.
Yeah, that was such a good move. Do you know what my favourite moment was? It wasn't even the racing. It was the fact that Nico Rosberg absolutely roasted Christian Horner for about 4 minutes straight. Every time Nico said something, he was just smiling, awkwardly smiling, like, yeah, I'll piss him off again. And Christian Horner's just sitting there ranting. He's back in, like Mercedes finished P2 and 3, and it is back on for the Christian Horner living rent-free of Mercedes, Toto. Like, I live for
got Mercedes on the brain.
Yeah, always. I guarantee if he had a Mercedes at home, like a private car, I guarantee that's back on sale again, because he's no way... Or to be fair, he probably never owned a Mercedes for that reason.
So
I ain't paying Toto's wages. I thought that 4-minute clip was hilarious. And then, like, just to add
He's so
like
I
insult
love
to
Nico
injury,
Rosberg.
like, and you got Natalie Pinkham giving it some as well. You got Naomi Schiff giving it some, and they're sort of like trying to not calm him down, but the questioning after Nico was sort of like much calmer and a bit more thought out. Whereas Nico was like, "I'm just gonna press every single fucking button this twat has and just piss him off every single time."
With it was the because like Naomi Schiff's like, Max is doing really well, he had a good race, and Nico's like, yeah, but Perez is shit. Why is he so shit? It's just so
I can't stand Nico Rosberg for the kind of, he's just a bit of a moron, but he's when he gets a bit between his teeth,
I think he's great.
Do you know what?
He does the hard questions.
He does the hard questions really well, and he gets under people's nerves a lot. Like, he did the same thing with Toto as well, didn't he? He was getting a bit like, a bit wet with him. Sort of, mate, he was your boss. You have to kiss his ass now. Jesus, Nico. Go back to YouTube.
What about the YouTuber? But what about when he was doing a post-race interviews, and he said he finished talking to Lewis, and he was like, "Nice to see you," and Lewis was like, "Thanks." Walked off.
Now, do you know what though? I thought that, considering their history and the history that we know that they have, I thought, to be fair, there was nothing in it. Like, there was no argy-bargy.
Oh no,
it's just made.
I don't know why they're not closer, because it's so long ago. Lewis has gotten over the Max stuff very clearly.
Have you ever watched the BBC documentaries or the race reviews that they did back in the day? They had
back in the day ones.
Not Dame.
They used to do the season sum ups.
Season sum up. It'd always be at Christmas, right? And they used to absolutely bum Lewis Hamilton. Like, they always had him on. Like, they had Jenson Button on, but he was sort of
apart from DC.
He's one of the guys with Eddie Jordan. Eddie Jordan just chats complete and utter bungle waffle all day long.
Bungle merchant.
He literally is a bungle merchant. He chats utter toilet. But they always had Lewis on there, and they had Lewis on there talking about Nico, and it was basically summing up that they never really been friends, because you never want to beat your friends, but then when they become your mate, you want to beat them even harder. And he's sort of saying, I don't really care for friends, I just want to win. And it's sort of like, and then when they get to Nico, Nico's like, yeah, Lewis is my friend. I really like him. I've known him for years. And Lewis is like, who's this guy? I don't really give a fuck about him. I just want to get number one. I don't give a fuck
clown
about
show.
But yeah, I've got another thing.
It's great.
High performer, low performer. This is normally your segue to get us in, but I thought I'd throw it in. High performer, Nico Rosberg commentary.
It's been a while. Got to brush off the brain rot. So, high performer. Can I do 2?
Yeah, do as many as you want, mate. Do 10 if you want. I don't give a fuck.
Okay, I'm gonna do 3. I could do loads.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go Max, Lewis, and George. So simple. They were top 3, but they clearly made the Mercedes parts work. They beat Perez. They beat Sainz. We're not going to talk about Leclerc. So
if you want to see anything,
they beat
Ferrari
the cars.
Fan not have a good time, probably watched Matt and Tommy P1, because I'd imagine Matt Gallagher is probably feeling a bit sore today.
I saw a clip from and he was just
I did as well. He's like, what?
When he went out.
I did chuckle at that. I do feel for his pain though, because that was
he has a lot of pain. The Cry Gallagher quote come out again.
Yeah, Cry
but
Gallagher, poor kid.
Those are high performers. If you want to talk about the non upper cars, Sonoda definitely. I think Stroll really well finally, but really well. Of course, Lando until stupidly. If that was 2021 Lando, that would never have happened. But we've got this, he thought he was playing Warzone and needed to survive to the next round. So he got out of the way really fast instead of just, push through. Piastri, I can't remember what he did really.
Nothing.
But I wouldn't say he's high performer.
He's not even he's just mid. Like I've been saying all year, mid.
Low performers though, because these are a lot more spicy. All right, give me your high performers quick.
Yeah, I'll give you my high performer. I'm going to say the Mercedes team in general. I don't want to go to both of them because it just takes up 2 slots, so I just don't give a fuck. Stroll.
So I just got to send a message. I'm listening.
Rated Stroll this weekend. He did really, really well for Aston Martin. And the other high performer that I thought that did really well was Ocon. Maybe even Alpine in general. I think the last 2 races, they've done really, really well. I think Gasly, he had a moment where he was at the back of the field. I can't remember why he was at the back of the field. I can't remember why that was that like that, but he was one of the guys that you think, fuck, he's bringing this race alive a bit at the moment. Like there was a couple of overtakes. You think
overtaking
yeah,
weapon, wasn't he?
I think it might have been Nick De Vries, completely shit driver as well, by the way.
Oh my god,
he was
not onto low performers yet, mate.
He was following Nick De Vries and one other. I can't remember. It might have been Guan Yu Zhou or something. Nick De Vries donkey went back to the terrible line for whatever reason. Gasly was like, well, if you're going to leave the door open, I'll have it. And just snuck in. And then I think a lap later done both of them. And they're still like, how did that happen? That was really, really exciting
so
to see
good.
that. But there was another fucking turn 1 overtake again, even though I was fucking talking about how great it was. Still
Bit of a better one, at least.
Go on, your low performers.
Low performers. Bottas in the bin.
Mud.
Fuck off.
Mud.
Useless twat.
Mud.
Replace him for Tao Porsche next season.
Nah, put
Done.
Kimi Räikkönen
Nice
back
simple.
in. Fuck it.
Kimi Räikkönen does not want to get back in an F1 car. That's the last person that wants to get back in an F1 car. Seb.
I'll take Seb all day.
Yeah. Bottas, low performer. Logan Sargent, low performer. Nick De Vries, low. Man has embarrassed himself so hard, giving it the big.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't look at myself as a rookie, really, mate. You just drag your own grave. Like,
Since he said
what are you doing?
Isn't it? He's been in the mud since.
There's like,
probably if he came into the season and just said, "Look, I'm older. I'm a rookie, but I'm going to make the best of it." He probably would. But he's put that like internal pressure on himself that he's not a rookie, and then completely fucked the whole thing up. But to be fair, I've got some spicier ones. Charles Leclerc, mudded. What the fuck was he doing?
Oh yeah, well, obviously
donkey this week.
I wasn't going to talk about it because it does.
I mean, I'm a Ferrari fan.
Proper donkey.
I want to see Ferrari do well, but with all the Lewis Hamilton talk at the moment, the last thing that Charles Leclerc wants is to have a terrible weekend like he did in Monaco and a terrible weekend in Spain. Donkey. I'll tell you who else had a shit weekend, considering he shouldn't have a shit weekend. Carlos Sainz.
Perez.
And Sainz. Carlos Sainz and then Perez.
Yeah.
Perez should have done better, but...
And Alonso.
Yeah, to be fair, you kind of took my words out of my mouth with Perez, but I was probably going to say Alonso. But yeah, Perez had about Alonso, not as bad. He did say the car was bad all weekend. Don't know why. But in my mind, Carlos Sainz should have been on a podium. I don't know what the fuck happened with him. He was doing purple laps following Max for the first stint. And then for whatever reason, his engineer kept saying, you got to get quicker, you got to get quicker. And he's like, I am holding back. And you think, mate, you're fucking dropping back, you mean? Why are you holding your tyres? And then, I don't know if it was a Ferrari, whatever it was they're doing, strategy call or pit stops, but he was terrible. He's not good at the moment. Yeah. That was not a good performance.
Shouldn't have been.
He should have been on the podium. He was second for a good reason to start. He should have pushed Max far harder and even probably pushed him to the edge.
He's not a driver that can do that. He doesn't have the caliber to do that.
He's not, but he should have done.
He really doesn't.
But then Max got away. Didn't push hard enough into T1. He should have been pushing him all the way to turn 3 in my mind, but compromised him.
Because Sainz actually said that he was going to get pushed off in T1, so we just accepted it instead of like trying to fight back.
That's my problem. Don't fucking accept it. Take it to him. Max knows he's going to get away with it, so he's like, yeah, I'm just going to send it in there. And just know he's probably sitting there smiling going, twat, I would have liked to race him, to be honest.
It's because Max is well and truly in everyone's heads now.
Yeah.
He's like, we just give him the room? I think because Lewis is probably the only one
on some occasion that will go, fuck him, I'm going to give him a bit back, which obviously, like in Australia, he grizzled over it. But I think if it was Carlos Sainz should have got the bit between the teeth there and just gave it a little bit more to Max. Don't know why. I don't know. Obviously, his race was a bit mudded all day, so going off at turn one probably would have done him a favour. Got some points,
and I don't think Ferrari realised just how quick that Mercedes was.
No, I don't think anyone
that
how
Mercedes was
quick.
Fast.
Mercedes was, to be fair. I don't even think Mercedes realised how quick they had their car at that time. But do you know what was good for Mercedes?
When George,
do you know what was really good?
Go on.
Really quickly, their tyre management seemed to be very good compared to the rest of the field. I mean, they only made pit stop changes to fuck over Perez. I think they could have gone on for a bit longer on both stints as well.
They could have won.
They could have done a one-stop and still been...
Stops.
Yeah, I think they both could have been on a one-stop. Which, as Mercedes and Brit fans going to Silverstone, this bodes very well for us, which is good. But I'm touching
Spain's new layout is very Silverstone-esque.
Yeah, it's very quick. And their tyre deck was immaculate. And maybe that's the reason why Carlos Sainz struggled, because we know famously that tyre deck is a problem for a Ferrari. I still got to work out a way of slowing down Max. Maybe bring back the oil people again. Don't know. Put some oil in Red Bull garage.
Just stop Max.
Yeah.
We'll do it. We'll protest. Just stop Max.
We get some big signs. Stop. Stop on track.
Yeah, I'm looking. Next race is Canada.
Good track.
Which
street circuit, so Perez could be strong. But this is a Lewis stronghold, isn't it?
I'm just going to stop saying it. Perez and street circuit, it's just a myth, I think.
Do you know who isn't a myth around the Canada?
I think it's a myth.
It's the Sir Lewis Hamilton. This could be really strong for Mercedes. It is some Mercedes stronghold,
Mercedes
as well.
The downside is the big straight, the two, basically, the back straight into then Wall of Champions pit straight. Max has yet to crash into that wall, so therefore he is not a champion. So this week, the next race coming.
Has Lewis crashed into it?
I think he dinked it back in McLaren days.
Oh, okay. It's not crashed though.
So I'm pretty sure he done. Pretty sure he hasn't had a big.
Maybe on his last year when he's like in his mind, he said, "I'm retired. Just fucking send it in there, 150 mile an hour."
Yeah, full pace. Like just downloaded the F1 game.
Thumbs up
from Game Pass, and you've never played before.
Parker, because he just fucking sends it into that turn every time.
Yeah.
Oh, you can overtake there. That's not an issue. Bang! Straight in, takes everybody out. No issues.
Our fault, though.
Yeah, our fault.
Yeah, I reckon Mercedes could have that. Mercedes could do. They're not going to win it because Max will drive to the end unless he has a problem. But I think both Mercedes have got a good chance.
If you look at the law of averages, statistically, Red Bull, Checo, and Max haven't had a car failure. To be fair, none of the field has had a car failure as well for what feels like 3 lap races. None of them.
Did you just quickly? Here's another really weird stat. Not a single yellow flag flown in 66 laps. Not a single yellow flag.
Odd. Considering
no
what
safety,
happened in
no
Australia
VSC
as well, with like 17,000 red flags as well.
They got them out of the way there.
Yeah. Weird.
They just got them out of the way.
That is strange though, how there is no yellows.
Just get these done.
And considering like what happened in was it practice or qualifying that everyone was spinning? I think it's quali.
Yep.
Considering what happened then, and then what didn't happen once in the race, even the quote unquote not as good drivers in the not as good cars didn't have any issues, which is bizarre. The only incident really was
Logan Sargent didn't batter it anywhere.
Sonoda, which was nothing anyway, didn't deserve it. Do you know what? We got 10 more minutes of this pod. Should we give a 0 to 10 rating to all of the teams? Just a quick review. So Red Bull.
I'm gonna quick fire my ones.
Red Bull.
Okay, shoot me. So Red Bull, 10 out of 10.
Mercedes,
8 out of 10.
Ferrari,
5 out of 10.
Low. That's quite middle of the ground for them. Alfa Romeo, Sauber.
Alfa Romeo, 4 out of 10.
Haas,
6 out of 10.
Alpine,
7 out of 10.
McLaren,
4 out of 10.
AlphaTauri.
5 out of 10.
Aston Martin.
9 out of 10.
Really, that high? Especially with Alonso.
Williams.
Oh yeah, I forgot about them. Williams. Yeah, Williams. Didn't make any impression on me, obviously.
Williams, I'll go with 4 out of 10. So some of my reasoning quickly.
Yeah, go on.
Actually, I'm gonna let you do it before I can put any biases in your head. So hold on. Mercedes.
I would probably go for a 9.5. They took it to a new level yesterday.
Red Bull.
I would say 9 for them. Didn't have a great weekend with Perez, and I think they might be internally collapsing on each other as well with Perez. I think they just need to run them together. Let Max be Max. Stop whatever they're doing. Stop letting Checo be hindered by the team, by the internal pressures, by Helmut Marko being a complete flid as usual. Just let them be them. Just do it. Stop fucking around with things.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
Ferrari.
3. Mid-session from then.
Alpine.
7. Strong weekend for them.
I knew you said Alonso. Aston Martin. I'm not wrong, am I? But Aston Martin.
Probably like a 5 or a 6. Knowing what they can do, they had a bit of a crap weekend. Couldn't work out what the wrong problem was with the car. You know when something's up, when Stroll is outperforming Alonso, even though, Stroll deserves some credit, but there are definitely question marks on Alonso. So 5 or 6, 5.5. Yeah, 5.5. Fuck it. Get off the fence.
Alfa Romeo?
Because they got Bottas and he's got a mullet. That's a win. But he was shit, so that's an L.
As always, shock. So
probably a 2. Considering this team is going to be Audi, what they're doing, middle of the road, doing fuck all with themselves, they need to wake up, smell the coffee, get going.
The
again.
driver lineup is fucking horrible.
I mean, Zhao has got some
terrible
good
driver lineup. Traits
to his racing, but I think he's definitely a mid-pack kind
He's
of guy.
Very much.
He's not setting the world alight.
AlphaTauri.
Because I got Nick De Vries and Tsunoda, and literally because of Tsunoda not getting his points, getting hindered by the FIA, probably he deserves a good 5 or 6, but Nick De Vries is in the team, so it's going to be a 2.
Yep.
Terrible weekend.
Haas.
Do you know what? I can't even remember them fucking being there. Did they even turn up?
Good qualifying. Bad race.
Steiner was in trouble for something he said. Classic.
Classic.
3.
Nice.
I don't know. 3.
Yeah. Williams.
Again, didn't even leave an impression on me, so 2. What was Albon doing? That was a quick track. Where was he?
Oh.
Where was Albon?
Nowhere.
Williams
had nothing this weekend.
Why?
Really, really mid performance.
McLaren, like you said.
No idea.
Probably a 4. They looked so strong in qualifying, and then their car was so dog. Like, why? What have they done to the car in the race that made that so slow? Lando.
It's like reverse Mercedes.
Lando, currently a clown for doing what he did. What is he doing? Oscar Piastri, mate, he's not exciting. Australian show.
Yeah. So I think that's all the teams. I thought you meant season, but instead of the race with my grades. But basically, I'd probably still keep a lot of them where I've kind of put them. McLaren, half of the garage was good, half it wasn't, which I think I said a 5 or a 4 maybe. Red Bull, it was purely Perez that bottled everything. Barely Red Bull's fault at all, and they dominated the rest of the race.
Don't you think though? Just quickly on the Perez thing though, is that Perez bottling it, or is that the environment that he's in that's not helping that bottling as well though? Because
no, it's
it can't be all him though. There is some negativity in that garage that's probably not fun a bit to be around.
The Red Bull team has always been like it,
100%.
but I don't think it's the Red Bull team. I think it's very heavily Helmut Marko. I don't even think it's Christian Horner, if I'm being honest. I think a lot of the toxicity, because everybody's always like, oh, Helmut, scary Helmut, and even the drivers say it. I'm like, he really does not sound like a Helmut Marko, Jos Verstappen, worst combination of people to be in the grid. Just not good. And a very interesting thing that I looked at with a little Leclerc interview that was going on when he said Verstappen being one of the nicest drivers on the grid. And Leclerc actually said, although social media doesn't think that, he really is a nice guy. And I generally think he is a really nice guy. But as soon as that helmet comes on, like all of them, every single racing driver is a dickhead as soon as that helmet goes on. But
especially Ocon.
When the helmet comes... yeah, especially Ocon.
He's one of the nicest guys as well. Honestly. And he's like, lid goes on, complete knob. Wants to kill everybody.
Demon.
Yeah.
Yep. But
including his teammate.
So with all the time. That's the biggest
surprising,
target.
Really. He's French. You'd think he'd surrender every time there's an incident coming up.
Well, they both don't surrender, which is like the most unironic French on French thing.
That's weird.
But so no, the thing that I would say with like this, what I was saying about Verstappen is he's definitely got this like, what's the word? Bad rap because of obviously Abu Dhabi 21, not his fault. And I'll stand by that. It's not Max. He shouldn't get hate for that. The FIA deserve it. And then fucking Helmut Marko being a dickhead. And then you've got the other things. He hasn't really done anything wrong. He was loved and then started to win and was hated, much like Lewis was loved, won lots, hated, stopped winning lots, loved, just like Vettel. People hate people that win all the time. And that's what it boils down to. And you look at Max, even when Lando was in P3, like double took and went and congratulated Lando for being in P3, like little things that he does. And even look at Verstappen, Lewis and George on the podium all smiling with each other.
Do you know what was nice, actually? The cool-down room. But I think that was... Lewis is always like really awkward in the cool-down room. I don't know if he's just...
Yeah.
Maybe the... Whatever it is after he finished the race, he's sort of like, don't want to...
He's just thinking about Shakira, mate.
Yeah,
he's just got Shakira on the mind.
I would be as well. That is a mad thing, whatever he's doing. I'm going to get caught out for that. The only other, like, George being there is almost like you being in a quiet room as well. I did say this in the group chat. Josh cannot be in a quiet room. He always has to be talking about something that's completely irrelevant and nonsense. And George Russell is exactly the same. George Russell just talks and talks and talks and talks. It's all like just throwing shit at a blanket and seeing what sticks. And that is literally George Russell speaking. He just carries on.
He'll be dead silent, and George Russell is just
look at that on the screen.
Shortbread biscuits are nice, though, aren't
they? That's you and George Russell do exactly the same thing. And Max, to be fair to him, he's always been like that in the cool-down room. He always wants to talk about the race or like an incident. He's always sitting there doing stuff in all this kind of stuff. And George is just sitting there going, that was great on the thing. Do you see that? Do you see turn one? And they're just loving it. Lewis is sort of just side-eyeing the pair of them going, can't wait to get home to Shakira.
Yeah. 100%. He's got...
Maybe he can help her out with a VAT bill as well.
He was chatty, though, and I'd like to see that. Yeah, he knows a thing or two about that, doesn't he? But, yeah, right. Next race, Canada. We will be recording another one. Hopefully it'll be 4 of us next time.
What do they need to do?
Again, we're sorry for the long break.
What do they need to do? It's been a while.
What do they need to do?
What do they need to do?
See, it's been so long. In order for you to see our next podcast that we do, you need to hit that sub button, give us a like, not a follow on our socials, share us around, comment in the description about what you thought, or just put something in there for the sake of engagement, because that helps us grow. And like an emoji, something like that. A little Formula 1 emoji, little racing car emoji, put that in there. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching and listening. Right. Staying in touch with the kids. Put that emoji, them emojis. And some memes. Yeah. No, and your mum and dad call it a meme. Brilliant. Right, thank you very much for watching and listening, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode, which will be talking about Canada. And maybe some talking points, but who knows? It's if we upload some more. See you in a few weeks. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Beep, 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 beep.